What's up, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully, you guys had a good weekend behind you guys. You guys might have noticed that this video is a little bit different. I'm actually on a camping trip right now. I'm in my car. I actually had to drive out to the camp office to get Wi-Fi so I can make this video. The joys of working with limited Wi-Fi. Yes, I know. But we're here today. We do have CVC coming in 20 hours. If you guys are around on YouTube, I will be streaming during CVC. So just come by, say hello, chat a little bit. And we do have some Plarium play news here in regards to some events for tomorrow. I do apologize for the ghetto kind of setup here. I'm on a laptop. I'm in the woods. I'm in my car. It's 5 a.m. So it's a pretty interesting scenario. But anyways, guys, with that all being said, here is the upcoming events starting tomorrow. All right, so it looks like it's a little bit of a tradition that Plarium has going on right now, but they are starting to offer up some of the faction unity champions in these progressive events pretty regularly. So on day one, we actually have the Knight Revenants up for grabs, including the faction unity champion Losan and Herakletes. So you can kind of see here my game is downloading on my laptop. But Losan and Herakletes, you guys might know him from those Faction Wars hard mode waves, where he is super annoying, seemingly unkillable, and hits like a truck. Let's check out his kit here. He is defense-based, almost 1600 base defense, which is very, very nice. He's got an A1 here, single target hit, 100% chance to land weaken. This debuff cannot be resisted if the target has attacked this champion before this turn. His A2, this ability is really cool. Spirit Calculus. 5-turn cooldown, big cooldown ability. The HP levels of all allies will be brought up to the level of the ally with the highest HP. So it's a big team heal. The turn meter of all allies will be brought up to the level of the ally with the highest turn meter, so it's a big boost as well. It also levels off all of the enemies will be HP levels of all the enemies will be brought down to the level of the enemy with the lowest HP. So it's also a kind of an attack also, and a turn meter pushback. So it's really, really big ability. It places taunt on himself also. Now, I don't have this champion. I never played tested this champion before, but if you guys have this champion, let me know in the comments below if this HP level of all enemies will be brought down. Does it also bring up ever? Actually, that doesn't make sense because it levels off to the lowest enemy. Wow, that's actually really good. I thought there was a way where enemies maybe could get brought up, but that doesn't make sense. The wording just says brought down to the lowest. So, my bad, never mind. This ability is busted. 5-turn cooldown, though. His A3 on a 3-turn cooldown is a single target attack. Before attacking, transfer all debuff from this champion to the target and heals this champion by 10% of their max HP. Heals an additional 10% of their max HP for each debuff transferred. We'll always use this skill instead of the debuff skill when counter attacking. Now, in its normal conditions, it doesn't seem so strong. It's a single target hit. It's a transfer debuff. It's a heal. It's nothing crazy, but let's see what the faction ally bonuses give it. One faction ally before attacking also removes all buffs. Okay, so it's a single target strip. Cannot be resisted if this champion was attacked before this turn. 2 faction allies will attack all remaining enemies with less than 30% HP. This attack will ignore 100% of target's defense. Now, this one is probably the crazy hitting ability here. With 2 faction allies. 3 faction allies. This champion deals 100% more damage to enemies who have attacked this champion before this turn. So what's the key? You have to ignore this guy, but this guy places taunt on himself, so most likely your whole team would have attacked him. And yeah, this ability is going to hit really, really hard if he has the full bonuses. And then his passive ability, every time this champion loses 25% or more from a single hit, places block damage on him for 1 turn. When attacked, has a 15% chance to place in True Fear on the attacker, cannot be resisted. Ignore defense effects against this champion are ignored or decreased by 100%. And then 3 faction allies, when attacked, has 20% chance of activating instant turn. Yeah, so he had quite a bit going on in his kit. And just going over it here, like, it kind of makes sense that he pops off like crazy against those waves. And then finally, his defense in all battles by 25% with a increased resistance by 60 for Knight Revs. a pretty interesting champ. He's a damage dealer in the Knight Revs. If you can build him with, I guess if you build him with just crazy damage and make him really, really tanky and then just support him, he can do a lot of work for you. He's going to be offered up on day 1. And also on day 1, we have Narma the Return. Narma the Return is going to be she was updated recently, and then she was part of a couple promo codes. She's a crazy champion to start off with. The biggest knock against her is their book requirement. She's not going to be 100% chance of landing any of her stuff without the proper books, and her cooldowns are quite long, 5-turn cooldowns without any books. So she is available for brand new players through promo code links and all that, but she's not going to gain full effectiveness through the books for a while. But she is very, very effective when booked. A1, single target, has a 75% chance of increasing the duration of all debuffs on a single target. Very nice. A2, 3-turn cooldown when fully booked. Single target hit, decrease attack, leech, and then instantly activates all poison debuffs on the target, and then a big heal for this champion. So big damage ability, lots of debuffs, and a big heal. And then lastly on the A3, we got 3-turn cooldown when fully booked. Single target hit again, places 3 poisons and a poison sensitivity. If the initial target is under 3 or more debuffs, places 3 poisons and poison sensitivity on all enemies for 3 turns instead. And then she has the A1, which extends all those debuffs, which is nice. Now, she's not going to be able to start this chain off by herself because she only lands 2 debuffs here on the A2. So she needs 1 more debuff from your teammate before she can do this crazy poison spread stuff. Now, her passive here, whenever an ally is attacked, has a 25% chance of placing a poison on the attacker. Whenever this champion is attacked, the chance increases to 50%. Enemies under poison inflict 5% less damage for each poison they're under, up to 25%. So she's a big poisoner. She's a big poison damage dealer as well. And then she can land a lot of debuffs over time. And problem is she is a single target. And then this ability is conditional, so it's not 100% chance to land if you don't have all the debuffs, especially on all the all the enemies, but still an incredibly high value ability, and you only really need a very, very easy condition to fulfill. So Great Champion was buffed not too long ago, but she's very, very good now. Up next, we have Gaeth, the Truth Shield. I play tested this champion. She's supposed to be a damage dealer, but to be honest, she doesn't hit hard enough. She's a defense-based champion here. Single target hit on her A1, decreased crit rate, or if they're under decreased crit rate or decreased crit damage placed by this champion, you get an extra hit. The extra hit is a normal hit when ignore 50% of the target's defense. Also places increased defense on herself. Like I said, she doesn't hit hard enough. Even with this ignore defense, 50%, it's not hard enough. 3-turn cooldown AoE on the A2. Before attacking, increase duration of all ally buffs. You can use this for like Wixwell teams and all that stuff to increase the buff duration. Damage inflicted by the skill increases 5% for each buff that had its duration increased. So it's going to scale off buffs on your team. 5% is quite small, to be honest. It could be a lot higher so that she can deal more damage, but yeah, that's not going to be the case, and it's going to be only for buffs that have their duration increase. So some buffs can't have their durations increase, so that's a bit of a negative. It's not just buffs on your entire team. The A2 here on a 3-turn cooldown places reflect damage, ally protection, strengthen, and increase resistance. Although not on everybody, strengthen and increase resistance is just on herself. It's not a bad value support ability, but nowadays this is not super crazy. But strength and ally protection can be okay. Can be pretty good carries in a lot of areas, especially early on. Her passive, whenever an ally under reflect buff is attacked, places decrease crit rate and decrease crit damage on that target. So if she places this ally protection and reflect damage stuff, if your team gets attacked, then they're gonna get the crit rate and crit damage decrease, and then you can extra hit on your A1. So that's kind of how it works. The kit honestly reads kind of like a support kit, but she's supposed to deal damage, but she doesn't really deal damage, so she's kind of like in limbo a little bit. Not really the best champion in my opinion. to invest in. Up next, we have Walking Tomb Drain. Walking Tomb Drain is not too bad. I mean, you can always find use for this. The irresistible AoE HP burn on a 3-turn cooldown. That's pretty much what you would use him for. He has huge base stats, and the fact that you don't need to build him with accuracy makes him very early game friendly. So he has big base stats. You can build him pretty tanky, and then you can not build him with accuracy, and he can land HP burn for you. So he's actually a pretty good carry, especially in the beginning. What else we got? We got Gaius the Gleeful. Was a past fusion back in the day. I got this guy. He was supposed to be the resurgence for bomb champions. They were hyping this guy up for the bomb meta and all that stuff. I mean, he's okay. He had a little bit of fun with this guy when he first came out, just because bombs suck so bad. And there were so limited options, but Gaius was not the answer, but he was okay. He's got a double hitter, extra turn if he kills an enemy on the A1. His A2 here attacks all enemies, places them to sleep, and places 2 bombs on them. So that's kind of good. I mean, the biggest thing is having the bombs detonate. So if you're putting them to sleep, if they miss a turn, it's only a 1-turn detonation, so it's not too bad. And then his A3 on a 4-turn cooldown, you got a single target double hit, and the first hit instantly detonates. All of them, the second hit will ignore all unkillable. So it's kind of like, you got a double hit to try to kill enemies that have unkillable. His passive is actually what makes him kind of threatening. When he's attacked, he has a chance to place a bomb debuff on the attacker, and then he instantly detonates all the bombs when he's killed. So this is kind of the fun part about his kit. But obviously, it's super unreliable because it requires the enemy to kill this guy. He might actually be okay against like AoE champions because he's going to be placing bombs on them, and then if he dies, then he can blow them up. But yeah, mostly just a fun champion, nothing too serious. Maybe can help you nuke some waves, but not really. What's next? In terms of, that's it for the non-void. For the void champions, we have Soulless, defense-based champion here. Was reworked not too long ago. Single target hit on the A1, we got stun, and then we got an ignore defense if they're under provoke. The A2 on a 3-turn cooldown, another an AoE attack here, 100% chance to remove all buffs, then places decrease attack and hex. Actually pretty solid ability here with the strip decrease attack and hex. And then the A3 on a 3-turn cooldown, another AoE, increased duration of all debuffs on each target by 1 turn, then places provoke. 3-turn provoke AoE, very nice, can be used for Hydra. Places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns, equal to 30% of the damage inflicted, and a counter attack buff on this champion. Damage inflicted by increases by 10% for each debuff on the target. Another really solid ability, so very useful for areas like Hydra, for example. And then for his passive, will ignore 30% of the target's resistance if the target's defense is lower than this champion's. Usually that's the case. He is a defense-based damage dealer. Allies deal 25% more damage to targets under provoke placed by this champion, which is good. He does place it on a 3-turn cooldown. And then defense in all battle, 33%. Nice rework, decent champion. I mean, good for Hydra. You got Hex here on the AoE, and then we have Provoke on the AoE, and then some extra damage here from the Ignore defense A1. And then he has damage scaling with the debuffs on the targets on the A3. I've seen some teams with him where him and Wixwell, I think, where they blow up like bosses single-handedly. That's pretty cool. And then up next for the Void Champions, we have Pontiff. Pontiff Augustin was the previous event dungeon boss from the Assassin's Creed collab. 110 base speed, very fast. Speed in all battles, 24%, very fast. Single target hit on the A1, block actives, 100% chance. Steals 5% of the target's turn meter for each buff on them, has a chance to. The A2 here on a 3-turn cooldown. This one is kind of his money-making ability, but he starts off with the A3. So what he does is on a 4-turn cooldown, he increases accuracy, places intercept stacks, 1 intercept on everybody on the team, then fails turn meter by 25%, and then you get an extra turn. This is a pretty big turn meter boost, 25%, and then you start off with the increased accuracy, you get extra turn. You use that extra turn with this A2, remove all buffs from all enemies, so you got a strip ability, so a 3-turn cooldown, 100% chance of placing Ensnare. Ensnare basically just shuts down any kind of turn meter effects or effectiveness. And then it says this debuff will ignore block debuffs. I mean, it should have been more than just block debuffs. It should have been like stone skin and everything like that. But yeah, okay, so just block debuffs. And then there's a further condition which only applies this block debuffs ignore only applies when enemies are under 3 or more buffs. That's a little bit weird, but yeah. Also decreases the turn meter by 25%. If they're under 3 or more buffs, then you decrease the turn meter by 40% instead. So this ability is pretty damn strong, but if you have Stone Skin or Mercurial to start, then this doesn't do anything. So, you're gonna have to strip the Stone Skin off, and then you can place a snare on them. And snare's not really hard CC; it's just kind of like a bit of disruption, so they can still attack you and kill you and stuff like that. And then you got the turn meter pushback here. This guy. Yeah, this guy's kit, it seems pretty good. I play tested it. It was okay, but with Mercurial and stuff, Mercurial can't be stripped off. This ability just becomes so much more useless. His passive here, he does have a cool passive. Allies receive 25% less damage for each enemy under block damage. Unkillable, Veil, Perfect Veil, Stone Skin. So it's kind of like a go second. So if you don't go first, the enemies probably have some of these buffs on them. Then you take less damage. Each time an enemy receives a buff, heal, or has a turn meter fill, which is basically all the time, has a 50% chance of decreasing the duration of all their buffs by 1 turn. This is actually really good. It's like passively removing their buffs, which is really nice. But honestly, like with the inconsistency of this ability based on how much Mercurial's in the meta right now, it's going to be very difficult for this guy to be really, really good in a lot of different spots. But honestly, his kit's not too bad. His kit's not bad. It actually works pretty well. But yeah, some of the sets are just really, really strong. They can't be stripped off. Like I said, Mercurial. Lightning Cage with Stone Skin makes it so that Stone Skin has a very low chance of getting stripped off as well. So Pontiff, not going to be as shining real bright, depending where you are in PvP, of course. And then lastly, for the Void Champions, for Night Res, we have Jorgid. Jorgid the Breaker here. Jorgid, very solid champion, 1600 base defense here. He's got an A1 double hit, 30% chance of repeating the attack. This can get out of hand pretty quickly. He's got an A2 here on a 3-turn cooldown. Attacks all enemies, decrease the turn meter of all targets by 30%. This effect cannot be resisted. Place unkillable on this champion for 1 turn if he kills an enemy. And then this ability, this is what he's known for. 3-turn cooldown, single target hit, ignores, strengthen, stone skin, unkillable, block damage, increase defense, ally protection, shield. Grants an extra turn if he kills an enemy. This one, a single target, is going to delete somebody. You get an extra turn, and boom, AoE, pushback as well. His passive also gives him crazy damage. 50% chance of this champion to ignore 50% of the target's defense from each hit placed by this champion's skill. It's a coin flip to get this huge damage boost on his entire kit. The RNG can be frustrating, especially when you need it to kill an enemy, but this makes him a huge threat to go through the tankiest of tanky champions. All right, so I guess from this Knight Revenant kind of progressive package here, I mean, it really depends what you are really looking for. I think Losan is going to be the champion that most people would probably shoot for, just because he's the most interesting, he's the rarest one. As for the Void champions, I mean, it really depends what you're looking for, but honestly, any of these progressive events, they're just going to be huge whale events. There's no reason to pull shards here, especially since our fusion just ended. Just save up real quick for a week or so, and then we'll have another fusion popping up, and then we can get ready for that. So I definitely highly recommend you guys not jump into these progressive events. The odds of pulling your desired champion is very low. Non-void legendaries, about 5% chance if you pull a legendary, and the rates are already so low. For void champions, you're looking at about a 15% chance if you pull a void legendary, and then the rates are non-boosted, of course. Let's jump over to day 2. So on day 2, they're going to switch it up. We're going to go from Knight Revenant, the faction, and then we're going to jump over to the Undead. So on day 2, they're going to focus in on the Undead champions, and first up, we have the faction Unity champion here, Herakletes. Sure. Sorry. Faction Unity champion here, defense based. He is going to be a damage dealer. He has a very interesting kit, actually. I do have this champion, but I don't really use him. You guys let me know in the comments below if you guys have this guy and you guys have used him in very effective ways. He's a single target A1, places True Fear on the target for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be resisted or blocked. If the champion is dead, also heals all allies by 20% of their max HP. That's just on an A1. So if he's dead, he gets quite a bit of value here. His A2 on a 4-turn cooldown, single target hit, ignores 100% of the target's defense. That's huge. If the target is killed, revives a random ally with 50% HP, 50% turn meter. If the target was killed and there's no dead allies, resets the cooldown of the skill. This ability can absolutely delete a lot, and it acts as a revive also. Very interesting ability. And then on his A3 here, we have an AoE attack on a 3-turn cooldown, I believe. Yes, 3-turn cooldown. Destroy the max HP of all enemies by 10%. Places a shield buff on this champion for 2 turns. The value of the shield is equal to the amount of damage all enemies. The total amount of all enemies destroyed max HP. So that's kind of interesting. So if you take 10% of like 4 champions with 100k, that's going to be 40k shield. This is potentially quite large, right? And then he has bonuses here. So 1 faction ally, the shield buff placed by the skill cannot be removed, so it's protected. 2 faction allies instantly activates this skill whenever this champion is revived. Doesn't work when revived by revive on death. 3 faction allies will ignore a portion of each target's defense. The amount of defense ignored is equal to the percentage of each target's max HP destroyed. So again, more synergies around him being dead. When he's dead, you revive him. He's going to come in with an AoE, big shield, destroy max HP. He's going to ignore your defense. So again, this ability can be very, very powerful. Lastly, his passive here, whenever this champion is revived, so more, being dead synergies, increase the damage inflicted by this champion by 20%, up to 200%. So if you revive him 10 times, then you get 200% damage. 1 faction ally bonus, this champion is immune to block revive. That's pretty cool. 2 faction allies receive 20% less damage if this champion is dead. And 3 faction allies. Whenever this champion is dead and an ally attacks an enemy, this champion will join the attack using their default skill. This attack cannot be affected by Mastery, Gear, Blessing, and other effects. Super cool champion, super cool idea. Defense in all battles, crit rate in all battles for Undead. Honestly, this is a really good faction, and to jam 3 other Undead guys with him, I'm not too sure if he is better than the other options from the Undead. So, for example, I have this guy, and I can't run like Undead siege teams because my Undead's not strong enough compared to other people with stronger rosters. But honestly, this guy can be very, very powerful in the right team. Moving on down the non-voids, we have Sanguine Maria, also up for grabs. Also, she was a fusion around Christmas time last year. Very good champion. I gave her a little bit of love when Mercurial was announced because she seems like the perfect champion for the Mercurial set to use and to play against that set, and she actually proves to be really good. So she got a triple hit on the A1, obviously very strong to remove all the Mercurial stacks. She gets a chance at the extra turn. It's actually a relatively high chance to get the extra turn. I think it's somewhere around 70% when you work out the math on 3 hits. She has a 3-turn, a single target hit here on the A2. Ignores 33% of the target's defense, up to 99% of the target's defense. Stone skin and block damage instead. If this skill is used on a turn number divisible by 3. So this is something you have to keep track of, and this is 3 turns of her turns, right? Not your team. It's 3 of her turns. If the target is killed, increase the cooldown of all enemy skills by 3 turns. This effect cannot be resisted if this skill is used on a turn number that is divisible by 3. Very powerful ability. 99% ignore defense will just destroy anything, but you have to use this ability on her 3rd turn. Her A3 on a 3-turn cooldown, another single target attack. Before attacking, remove all buffs from all enemies. This effect cannot be resisted by enemies with the number of buffs that is divisible by 3. Will attack all remaining enemies with less than 66% HP. Grants extra turn if this champion is under a number of buffs that is divisible by 3. So this is something you can control, the number of buffs that get applied. So it's kind of cool. She has extra turn mechanics, but you have to keep track of all this stuff to get the maximum benefit out of it. And it's especially critical to know what turn you're on, especially if you need this ability to ignore the stone skin or block damage. If you forgot what turn she's on and then you need stone skin removal or block damage removal, then there's nothing you can do. So you kind of have to keep track, a little bit of micromanagement on her skills there. Too bad they didn't give us an indicator. That would have been really, really nice. Make it a little bit easier for us. Her passive here, very cool passive as well. Each subsequent hit, this champion deals 33% more damage. It resets after you reach 99% additional damage. Each subsequent hit this champion receives deals 33% less damage, stacks up to 3 times, resets after damage reduction is applied for the 3rd time. So once you hit, so it goes 33, 66, 99. When you get 99% damage reduction, she takes no damage. So if you're not watching how many hits it took, and then you have a single target nuke, and then you need to kill her because she's going to destroy your team the next turn or whatever, and then you attack her, and then she has this 99% damage reduction up, you're not going to do anything. Like, almost nothing can kill her. She takes no damage. So yeah, it's a very interesting passive. Whenever an enemy is revives this champion with 33% HP, 66% turn meter. After being revived, place True Fear on all enemies. This debuff cannot be resisted or blocked. You don't build her with accuracy or anything like that. She has a bunch of irresistible stuff in her kit, which is really nice. Multi-hits, extra turns, all sorts of stuff going on. Really cool champion, and actually really good right now for this Mercurial meta. Up next, we have Bad Alcazar. I recently pulled Bad Al on one of my accounts. Good champ with an OG elite champion. Nowadays, just power crept like crazy, but still okay. Mainly used for his passive here, which gives 20% damage boost when targets are under poison. Has a 3-turn heal with poison and continuous heal. I mean, this is still a useful ability. It's not power crept into the ground, which is total shit, but it's not too bad. But yeah, still decent champion. He probably needs a 3rd skill at this point. After Bad Al, we have the Knave of Hearts. Knave of Hearts here. From the Alice Adventures campaign, we got the A1 here. It has a chance to place revoke, 50% chance on a 2-hitter. Also get a bit of a heal out of that. A1. On the A2, we got 3-turn AoE attack. 100% chance of stealing 2 random buffs from each target. Places continuous heals on everybody except this champion. Also plays Unkillable and Taunt on himself. Very solid ability, actually. Good support ability. And then on the A3, a 4-turn ability here, swaps HP on a target enemy, places 100% heal reduction, can be used for Amius, which is very, very strong. Cannot be removed, transferred, or have its duration decreased by enemies. Again, very strong against Amius. Then equalizes the HP of all your allies. The HP of all allies will be brought up to the level of the ally with the highest HP. And then places increased defense. So very good, strong support abilities. Got healing here, protects them with Unkillable and Taunt. And then he has this really cool equalizing ability with the increased defense. His passive at the start of each turn fully restores the champion's destroyed max HP. When attacked, destroy the attacker's max HP by 20% of the damage received. This passive is going to be really strong against a Scarab King. So if you got him against Scarab King, he probably can solo him with this passive. But yeah, pretty good, decent support champion. Lastly, for the non-voids, we have Mashald. Mashald, absolute MVP for areas like Grim Forest, Faction Wars. He doesn't hit, like, he can hit super hard, so you can use him for, like, I don't know, even arena. Early arena can be nasty. But his biggest roles are PvE focused. He brings Leech on the A1. He's got increased speed, crit damage for your entire team. And then he brings Fears if needed, which is crazy against waves. And then he has this heal reduction ability, which is really good against some areas in the game, like, for example, Amius. For example, Grim Forest, against those chests, he can be very good. And against, the chest, for example, he just comes in as a damage dealer also, and he buffs your whole team with all these crazy buffs. So Mashal, very MVP for this game. So that's going to be it for the non-voids. For the void champions here, we have, we have Gaspard the Accused. Gaspard the Accused, we've been seeing a little bit more play in the highest platinum level teams. Very good, can shut out enemies. The way I describe this guy is that he is a win more champion. When your team is winning, he is incredible. because he basically just shuts you out completely. His passive here, whenever an enemy is revived, instantly activates You Stand Accused. You Stand Accused is crazy. It's a single target hit, ignores 25% of the target's defense, poison, cloud, shield, block damage. If the target is killed, you revive somebody. And this revive will ignore block revive, and then he places a block revive on the enemy that he's attacking with this ability. So if, for example, you're attacking somebody and they're trying to recover by reviving their their allies, as soon as you try to revive, he's going to come in with this ability, which kills them, block revives them, and then if he kills them, he's going to revive somebody else on his own team. So it's a double whammy, right? Because you're losing your guy to his block revive, and then he's gaining a guy. It's very powerful. His AoE is not super strong. He does place increased defense and shield and stuff, which is really nice. He needs increased defense for him to deal a lot of damage on his AoE, but I find this ability with the ignore defense is very, very powerful. He does have some interesting synergies here against Hydra. He ignores Life Barrier and Poison Cloud, and then he does have this passive here that whenever this champion kills an enemy or decapitates a Hydra head, fills the turn meter of all allies with 25% and heals them by 25%. So he has some Hydra hate, which is interesting, but right now this guy is being used in some platinum level defenses, and he can be very, very strong. He just shuts them out, and he drags out games and all that stuff. Very, very strong Void legendary champion. Then we have Necrit the Great, cool champ. Got killed by Narcissus a little bit back in the day when Narcissus was introduced. He starts off the round placing ally protection and shield on the champion with the sorry, my apologies. He places ally protection, block debuffs, and strengthen on the ally with the lowest max HP. And if an ally is attacked when they're under ally protection, he places a shield on them. Also has some multi-hits. Multi-hit A1. Also has an ally attack on his A2. Not too bad against Mercurial to get rid of some of those Mercurial stacks. And then he can protect your opening lowest HP champion so that they can get a turn. Can be a decent protector. Good for general progression. And he's going to be up for grabs on day 2. Lastly, for the Void champions here, we have Vulcanin. Vulcanin was offered as a guaranteed Void Lego. I forgot what his cost was, 110, 190, somewhere around there. But I decided to pass on this guy, and honestly, I don't miss this guy at all. I have, there's some fringe uses for him. What he can do is that he can do a bunch of damage. He's got an A1 here that is going to be a single target hit, ignore shield, 60% chance of increases duration of all debuffs on the target by 1 turn. Also has a 100% chance of applying a debuff spread, but you only take 2 random debuffs and then you only apply them to enemies under Hex. His A2 on a 3-turn cooldown is an AoE attack, deals single target damage to each target individually instead of AoE. Before attacking, 100% chance of placing Hex on all enemies for 2 turns. Ignore 20% of the enemy's resistance for each dead ally. It's kind of a weird condition there. Damage of the skill increases by 10% for each debuff on each enemy. Honestly, yeah, they're not crazy enough. This ability is something that makes him stand out a little bit. So he targets an ally on his A3. If the ally is alive, kill them, unlock a secret skill, Malice Unleashed. Places Weaken and True Fear on for 1 turn on all enemies. These debuffs cannot be resisted or blocked, then fills this champion's turn by 75%. If the ally is dead, heals the champion by 50% of the dead ally's max HP. If all allies are dead, also unlock secret skill, Malice Unleashed. Places a shield on this champion. The value of the shield is equal to any surplus heal. If this champion already has a shield, the value of the shield is increased by any surplus heal, then fills this champion's turn meter by 75%. So it's a pretty interesting A3. It's a cool mechanic. It's a little bit complicated sometimes, a little bit conditional, depending what you have going on. Sometimes you need the heal and nobody's dead, right? And sometimes you need the damage, but you don't want to kill anybody. So it's really interesting. But I think how Vulcanin works is that you have to synergize with him, somebody that can be killed and brought back, or somebody that can be killed and has some synergies there. So let's say you kill somebody for the unlocking. So his unlock, Malice Unleashed, attacks 1 enemy. Before attacking, steals all buffs from the target. So you steal all their buffs, cannot be resisted. If the target has H attack equal to or higher than this champion, this attack gains bonus damage multiplier equal to the target's attack. If the target's attack is less than this champion's attack, this attack will ignore 50% of the target's defense. He has good base stats, good base attack, so it's very likely that he has the highest base attack, and he's just going to have 50% ignore defense on his Malice Unleash attack. This attack will ignore block damage, unkillable, shield, ally protection, and block revive if the target, and then places block revive if the target is killed. Obviously, a very, very strong ability, but it's going to cost you a champion, and it potentially going to cost you a turn. 75% turn meter does not guarantee that you actually get a turn, which freaking sucks. Passive, he has an active effect on a 1-turn cooldown. Places shield on this champion each time an ally or enemy dies. The value of the shield is equal to 50% of the target's max HP. That's cool. It's going to be protected. Passive effect. Whenever an enemy hits this champion while they are under a shield, places a random debuff on the attacking enemy. Fear, freeze, provoke, petrification, sleep, stun are placed for 1 turn. Any other debuffs are placed for 2 turns. Ignore 20% of the target's enemy's resistance for each dead ally. Cannot place boss exclusive debuffs, sheep, smite debuffs. And then lastly, he's got speed in arena battles. I mean, he has an interesting kit, but I just don't think this is worthwhile. Like, this ability needs to straight up kill somebody for sure. Like, he has to bypass like all the cheat deaths and all that stuff, because you're wasting, an ally and 2 turns to get this ability up. And then in some parts of his kit, he does require some accuracy because he only ignores 20% of the target's resistance. So you kind of need some accuracy in some parts, but you probably build him without accuracy and just go for pure damage. In that regards, he's probably not worth the trouble. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, I don't recommend going for these progressive events because you have very low chance of pulling anything you really want from them. Make sure you save your resources for the future. We probably have a fusion coming up at least maybe a week from now. And then you never know, we maybe even have like a collab sometime in June. But that's just pure speculation on my part, but it just seems like that's part of the course right now for Plarium. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Once again, sorry about the recording quality. I am recording in a van with spotty Wi-Fi. Thanks so much for watching until the end. Like I said, I'll be streaming during CVC, so make sure you guys drop on by. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.